you can have a lot of other interactions that explain many differences you can have between the patient. But indeed, within CIDP, the very general course of the neurological disease usually is a bit of the same kind. So yes, to some extent, mutations are important. And that's why I think also it is very important that every new diagnosed Niemann-Pick patient should have the mutation studied, because we probably will learn more. But it's more complicated because everybody almost has two different mutations, and then the combination of those two makes it more complicated and so on. But so I think I would like Mark to further comment on that, because that was only the laboratory type of answer to the question, which is much more complex than that.
But I think Marie really hit the main points, and that is, we focus, of course, on the NPC gene, whether it's 1 or 2, which does have a huge effect, but the other 20 or 30,000 genes, however many we have, we're not even sure about that, are still operating. And so, that's quite likely that there are other genes that modify. I don't believe anybody has identified such specific genes in humans, but in mice, there's certainly evidence from a number of studies that suggest that there are genes that modify the course. That would be very important to know if we did in humans, because potentially you could alter, at least in theory, alter the expression of those genes and perhaps improve the outcome of the disease. But as Marie said, there are a lot of other factors that are involved. Typically, we would think of siblings as having exactly the same environmental influences, but they may not. We know that there are other factors that influence the expression of genes that are important. So a good example is we tend to think of identical twins as being identical, but they're not. And in particular, there's been some nice work done by Anna Damasio at the University of Iowa, who did three-dimensional imaging of the brains of identical twins. Their brains are not identical. So these are twins, and this is the study of those. So these are processes occurring in the uterus, and they're sharing the same sac, and yet they don't develop identically. So there are factors other than just the genes themselves that influence the expression of the genes that will change the expression of the disease. So I don't think we know what all of these are. We can speculate about what they might be. But it's certainly true, as Marie said, in general, siblings tend to follow the same course. So if they have childhood type of progressive disease, it will tend to be the same for each sibling. But there are some dramatic exceptions to that we've seen, where some, for example, have the early onset aggressive disease, and others much more slowly progressive, of course. So I agree again with Marie that it's important to genotype children and adults to learn as much as we can about this. But I think there are a lot more factors. But Joe might want to comment on that, because he's an authentic geneticist. So.
Was there anything? No, I think everything has been said. It's a common experience to see quite remarkable differences between people sharing the same genome, which simply means for large portions of the same genome, like siblings share 50% of the genome, and they can be, we focus on one element and sometimes ignore the fact that this is all occurring on a background that is going to have a profound influence on who that person is, how they may express disease. So the surprising fact is that for many conditions, the clinical evolution of the disease is the same in symptoms. In some, like in classical Tay-Sachs disease, where there's no gene product formed at all, and it's a metabolically critically important process, the disease tends to be stereotypic in all the children affected. But for conditions like Niemann-Pick type C, where there's quite a variable amount of gene product produced, other factors become much more important in how the disease expresses.
So there was a question here, which was, are there medicines that will help with incontinence? And The answer is yes. You know, incontinence is a complicated problem. I think one of the important issues is to decide, to understand what's going on. And so we come back to the issue of constipation. Children who are constipated, that can have an effect on their bladder function. It's a simple physical effect. And so making sure that the bowels are functioning well is really important when you're dealing with incontinence. Now, this doesn't address whether we're talking about urinary or stool incontinence. Both can occur in Niemann-Pick C, particularly as the disease becomes very advanced. Again, I think having a good and appropriate bowel regimen is important. There are some drugs that can help, particularly with urinary incontinence. If there's stool incontinence, sometimes endocrinology drugs can help with that as well. But you don't use the medicines alone. It's got to be as part of a complete program and really trying to understand what the etiology of that problem is. My colleagues want to point out that.
Joe, I'd like to say that understanding the cause of incontinence is really good. And in urinary incontinence, for example, it can occur as a result of obstruction. That would be uncommon in young people, but in older people, there's a big possibility. It can occur as a result of spasm of the bladder that is an oversensitivity to the presence of urine, and so you're going every hour because your bladder has such a small capacity. Or it can occur as overflow from a bladder exactly the opposite form, where the bladder has no tone at all. It fills up, it becomes the size of a volleyball, and it starts to leak out urine. Now, the treatment for the three different causes is completely different. So you have to know the cause before you can address it properly, particularly with medication. For example, to use a choline-active drug, for example, with a spastic bladder would make it worse. So anyway,
my daughter is 13 years old and has NPC. She has periodic moments where she's retaining her urine. This has happened quite frequently, and when I went to the pediatrician in Hamilton, and he said, well, as long as she's going once every 24 hours, that's okay. Well, you know, the amount of fluids that as parents we try to give our children in the food, and it's, you know, there's so much water in there. Could this be a result of increased occurrences of dystonia? Is there any correlation between holding your urine and dystonia?
No, well, dystonia per se, because of course, dystonia involves voluntary muscle rather than the involuntary muscle of the bladder. So that would usually not be a direct cause. You know, it depends. It may depend a little bit on whether you're using medications to treat dystonia because they can affect that function. But again, to come back to what Joe was saying, I think it would be important to understand exactly what is going on when she's getting that. And I guess I would have slightly disagree with you both, which would generally like bladders to be empty more than once every 24 hours. That's usually a good idea.
Yeah, I would say echo that, and you have to remember also that sometimes the incontinence is simply the loss of the ability to respond to the bladder being, the feeling of the bladder being full. And it's just like sort of like regressing to infancy. So it could be a simple explanation.